Well, good morning, guys. I hope everybody's doing well. This is a motovlog about the Harley Davidson paint process. I thought it would take a moment to unpack this a little bit. It's something that has always intrigued me. It's something that I think even the harshest of Harley Davidson critics would admit. That is that the paint on Harley Davidson products, Harley Davidson motorcycles, is pretty special. So let's explore that a little bit today. I have some manufacturing and fabrication experience myself that I have accumulated over the years. So this subject has always intrigued me. So motorcycles, and cars too for that matter, probably have some of the most complicated and exhaustive paint processes of anything in the industry. Not only does the paint have to look great, but it has to stand up and hold up against the sun, the wind, the rain, all the elements. And other damage as well. The application of the paint on motorcycles has got to hold up to corrosion and rust for years and years and years into the future. But having said that, long before the actual application of the paint occurs at the factory, the surface must be prepared properly to receive the paint. The Harley Davidson company has a fairly unique approach, and that is they have a blend at the factory of robotic automation and human hands-on that all comes together in a beautiful product. The number of parts that must be painted and coated on a motorcycle is fairly extensive. Surface preparation for each part on the motorcycle is often a multi-step process. In some cases, the parts go through as much as a 12-step process at the factory before final assembly and delivery to the customer. First, the industrial robot will take the part and situate the part in such a way that the surfaces and angles of the part are all addressed. The time duration is different for each angle and for each part, but this is all programmed in by the technician in advance, depending upon the part. The part goes into human hands, and human beings take over and do the finish work on anything that may have gotten missed when the human hands take over, any flaking or imperfections in the surface metal that may exist gets removed. The paint process. An epoxy base coat primer gets applied to the part. And after the first coat of epoxy primer, base coat, gets applied, the part is sanded once again with a very fine grit sandpaper, 2000 grit. And then the second coat of epoxy base coat primer is put on. After the second layer dries, there are often times as much as 4 more layers of top coat epoxy primer that are applied to the part. 4 more layers. That's a top coat. And of course, after the top coat, the last top coat is applied, there is 2 and sometimes as much as 3 layers of clear coat applied to the part to protect that paint, that base coat and top coat paint layers from the elements. Now, the next time you're detailing your bike and you're applying a coat of wax to your paint, or if you have the denim paint, like denim surface, denim paint, I suppose you don't put wax on it. They have another substance that they use for denim, but in either case, just think about all of the work and the time and effort, precision that went into the application of the paint on your motorcycle. It's pretty amazing. And of course, when you get into Harley Davidson's custom vehicle operations, their CVOs in the past, you know, the paint is just exemplary, absolutely exemplary. But even my bike, I've got the Vivid Black on my bike, and it's the factory, it's the base paint, no extra charge, standard base paint. And when I'm waxing it, I'm really impressed with the quality of the coverage, and not only the quality of the coverage, but the quality of the parts, I should say, that are underneath the paint. Because, as I say, you can do all these types of things with paint application, but unless the surface of the part has been properly prepared to receive the paint prior to the paint application, you're just not going to be happy. I think the thing that's unique about the Harley Davidson process, and when I say unique, it may not be totally unique. There may be other manufacturers who do this as well, but supposedly it's unique. It's a unique combination of human hands and robotics, because apparently the robotic, the robots are not able to receive or process feedback while they're in the middle of the process, and they don't make adjustments based on feedback while they're in the middle of preparing the parts and applying the paint. So therefore, human hands must intervene and add that added perfection to the part. Anyway, guys, I just thought I'd mention this process, and I hope you find it interesting. I know I do. And when you look at the cost of these motorcycles these days, oftentimes you don't realize just what goes into the manufacture of these things. But once you do, and once you get an appreciation for what's involved, it gives you a little bit of a better realization, a little bit of a better appreciation and understanding as to why these motorcycles cost what they do. And this little exploration and discussion here doesn't even get into all the fancy stuff like you know, the custom airbrushing and other things that are done to the paint schemes of these bikes. This is just factory. This is just the factory process. But as we know, so much more beyond the factory paint can be done after the motorcycle leaves the factory and is in the hands of the customer with some of these third-party paint companies.